before submitting to a literary magazine, you have to have work to actually submit. In order to have that work to submit, you have to create that work. Sometimes people sit upon their work for many, many years and never share it with the public. I don't think you should send every piece of work you have out into the world, but I think it probably is better than you think it is. I do recommend, however, giving your piece 3 to 6 months to ferment if you've just written or created it. Sometimes when we first make a piece, we get kind of hard-eyed or rose-colored glasses over how great it is. It's kind of like when you buy a new dress or something else you're excited with. You might love it for the very first month or week or whatever, and then after time, you kind of start noticing some things you might change on it. In the case of a poem or a story, it might be a word or extra exposition that's unnecessary or a character that isn't doing as much work as they could be. One way of decreasing the fermentation time is by workshopping your pieces. I highly recommend fostering writing communities. You can make great friends, have a lot of fun, and improve your work and help others improve their work. By bringing your work to workshops, other people can see what you might not see until 6 months down the line. So it can help to have someone else identify something that's not working sooner than later. And then you can fix it sooner, and then you can send it out sooner. And then your work is better. Yay! Keep your work readily available. Every year I have a document for new poems since 2005. I have a 2023 document for poems, 2022, etc. While I use these documents to write fresh poems, I actually have a master document where I keep more polished work. Having a master document containing finished works or the most polished versions of your works can be really helpful. It's nice to be able to just scroll through hundreds of pages in the master document all in one place when I'm submitting to literary magazines or residencies or contests or working on a manuscript. That way I don't have to switch between all these other documents trying to find the specific version I want of the specific poem. So I highly recommend organizing your work into a single place so you can just as easily pull poems from that, or stories, or whatever genre you're working within. You could also do folders. If you have a lot of short stories, maybe you just want a folder full of short stories on your computer. Either way, some sort of centralized form where you keep the work that's ready to go into the world. Make a list of literary magazines and deadlines to submit to. Having this organized list in one place, whether that's a document, a spreadsheet, a computer or phone note, will just make it easier for when you're ready to submit. You can add calendar reminders. That can be really helpful. I know for a lot of people, as well as myself, sometimes it's like out of sight, out of mind. So if you do like a phone note reminder when there's a deadline or a physical calendar reminder, that can be really helpful. And keeping deadlines with that list is really beneficial because if you miss one deadline, you can always make the next one. If you know you're going to be a creative human on and on as you continue to exist on Earth, you know that you'll submit another year. So I try not to get too hard on myself if I don't submit to a magazine when I want to at a certain time, because there's always next year. Prep your bio. If you've never written a bio before for your creative work, I'd advise checking out sample bios from other people who have been published in the literary magazines you're looking to submit to. By seeing how other people do it, you can kind of form your own bio that way. Try not to get too hard on yourself if you don't have a long list of publications. That's okay. There are plenty of literary magazines that accept people who haven't had previous publications. It's not as bad as the job market when it comes to experience. I also recommend keeping your bio at a place that's easily accessible. I like to keep mine in some of my computer notes, then I can just pick it, easily edit it, and send it off. You may want to edit or revise your bio as time goes on, as you get more publications, as you get more experience, or if you just feel like you want to be a little more creative with the language of your bio. Sign up for Submittable. Submittable is one of the most common submission platforms for literary magazines and contests is nice because it saves your address. It also saves previous bios too. It also keeps track of all the things you submit to through it. So I can go back and look at submissions from like 2015 and I can see how my work has changed. And it's also backup, sometimes people lose their work on their computers and stuff. Submittable is kind of a bonus repository for your work if anything sad happens. Another nice element of Submittable is that it shows when there are upcoming deadlines for literary magazines and contests. If you don't know where to submit and you're looking for upcoming deadlines, you can always refer to Submittable to find magazines. Choose which magazine to submit to. I try to choose magazines where there's work that I respect and appreciate. Sometimes I choose friends magazines, which I definitely recommend if you're in writing communities. If one of your friends has a magazine, reach out to them and see if they need any work. Sometimes they'll reach out to you and request work, which is also like a lovely kind of thing when that happens. Just adds kind of a special element when you know your friend is at the helm of this creative project where your work is finding its home. Some magazines pay for work. One thing to consider, not all submissions are free. A lot of places will charge $3 fees here and there. There are plenty of magazines that don't charge money. They probably won't be through Submittable. I think a lot of people charge fees because Submittable charges them fees, so it's kind of like a trickle-down effect. But other literary magazines, you can email your work directly to them. So there are ways around fees. You can still get your work published without paying money. Read submission guidelines very carefully. Very carefully. Magazines often have guidelines about what font you can use, which size font, how many pages or poems or works you can submit at once. It sucks to be disqualified because you didn't read the guidelines carefully. I'm someone who can totally miss directions for that kind of thing. When I read guidelines, I try to read through them 3 to 4 times to make sure I'm not missing something. And usually that's beneficial to me because a lot of the times I will be like, oh no, that I'm not supposed to like put my name on the submission. Some submissions will be totally blind. Other literary magazines won't mind if you have your name on your material, but it varies from magazine to magazine. So it's very important for you to read the submission guidelines. And there's usually a page on their website about that, so always look for that page to see how you should format things and how much work you can send and whether it's going to be anonymous or not. Keep your cover letter simple. I know cover letters can be really intimidating for people, but it's just kind of one of those necessary evils. When I do submission cover letters, I just try to keep it really basic. I'll try to look for the editor or editors of the genre at the magazine I'm submitting to. And if there are multiple ones, I might just list out all of them or maybe generalize it. It kind of varies. Some magazines, just like the submission guidelines, will have particular regulations or guidelines around what to include in your cover letter. Sometimes they'll want your address in their cover letter, or they'll want your email or your phone number or the titles of your work. So read the guidelines very carefully. I can't say that enough. Read guidelines very carefully because you don't want to be disqualified for small details. Don't try to get really fancy or like talk yourself up in a way that just is silly, and just be respectful. Be easy, keep it sweet and simple. They're going through a lot of these cover letters and these submissions, so just make the job of doing that easy for them. Submit! Press the button! Woohoo! So the moment is here. Press the button, submit your work, send it out into the universe for the judgment scale to weigh whether it's an acceptance or a rejection. A bonus tip, I recommend batching your submissions. If you're already in kind of the mode of submitting things, it just makes it easier if you submit multiple submissions at once. When you do this, I like to spread out different works to different magazines, so I'm not having too many simultaneous submissions. That way I have never had to deal with a thing where a work has been submitted multiple places at the same time, because then in that case you'll have to tell one literary magazine that they can't have it, probably. Most literary magazines want first publication rights, and then the rights revert back to you for secondary publications, but usually they want attribution in the secondary publications. So again, this harkens back to read the guidelines, but also just as a rule of thumb, I don't recommend submitting the same pieces at the same time to different places. I know people do it, and maybe that is the better way of doing it. I just don't like to. As with anything, submitting work is a game of numbers. So the more submissions you put out there, the more return you receive. In the fall, I submitted 18 different applications and submissions to literary magazines, residencies, and contests. And I think I had 3 or 4 good responses where I received publications. The more you submit, the better return you'll have. Wait, but stay writing. One of my former writing professors, Paul Harding, once said in class that if your work is rejected, it doesn't mean anything. Great work is rejected all the time. But he said if your work is accepted, then that means something really special. And Paul knew that very well because he had a novel you may have heard of called Tinkers. It won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction in 2009. And for 10 years before, no one published Paul's novel. I think it was an acquaintance of his once asked him if he had any work, and he's like, oh, I have this novel no one's published. And then the acquaintance was like, well, let me read it. And then they wanted to publish it. And then Paul went on to win the Pulitzer. It was a lovely thing. Sometimes we get caught in the mindset that our past experiences lay our future, but just because we have had something happen or not happen in the past, that doesn't mean it's an indicator of what's going to or not going to happen in the future or the present. Don't be hard on yourself if you get a lot of rejections. I was so happy to get the publications I got in the fall, but I had to sift through all those rejections. And I try not to get hard on myself about rejections when I get them. I'm just like, okay, I won't send that same poem back to that same magazine. Next place. No, it's not a bad thing to be rejected. It just means it wasn't the right time or place for you or for them. Repeat the process. The most important. Harkens back to this being a numbers game. Writing is not for the soft pedaled. By saying that, I mean that you have to kind of have a bit of a tough exterior and interior when it comes to rejection. And rejection resilience is really important for various facets of life. It's not just writing or creativity. It's also, dating. It's also going for jobs or contests or other things that life holds for you. When you put yourself out there, you're vulnerable. You're putting yourself out there to be rejected or accepted or whatever's in between. And it's okay if you have emotions in response to rejections or acceptances that you didn't expect. Pick yourself up again. Know that tomorrow's a new day. That one rejection today doesn't indicate a rejection tomorrow. No one likes submitting their work, or most people don't like submitting their work or applying to things. It's the drudgery of being an artist or being a creative person. But the more you do the little drudgery things, the more your work actually gets out there and under the eyes of other people. I like to think of this Anne of Green Gables quote. She says, "It's not what the world holds for you, it's what you bring to it." When it comes to creative things, I try to think about that. We're all in the process of living on this strange, wacky, weird planet, and we might as well add more joy and beauty and kindness and love to it where we can and how we can. And all of us are creative, so we might as well try and see what happens when we put our work or our words or our pictures out into the world. See what can grow from it. Do you find it scary to submit? Are you kind of a pro at submitting? Do you just brush rejections off, or do you kind of feel the internal pangs of them? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about your experiences. Thanks so much, as always, y'all, for watching this video. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Take care.